Nick, how are your organs?
So in 1996, I was born with a super rare genetic disorder. So the fact that they gave me a shot at life, even though I was supposed to die, and doctors told them to abort me, I'm gonna go all in on them.
A man needs to have a purpose. The why, you call it the pull, whatever the case is.
I got to a point in my life, in my career, where I bought the cool house and I had the cool cars, and I looked at my business partner, I was like, is this it?
So you try to kill yourself?
Yeah.
How old were you in this app?
Even though I was 21, I had a bunch of followers. No, you still can't figure this out? Like, what an idiot. Playing victim is sexy. I'll be direct. I think I exposed a lot of people.
You cried?
Yeah.
Why?
To witness healing is to receive healing. I have this American indoctrination that the Middle East is crazy and we probably shouldn't go there. But if there's anything that I want to leave behind, that man made Dubai more inclusive and more accessible because they gave him a gift and he wanted to keep giving it.
How many times have you said that?
A lot.
This is wrong.
Today's guest is Nick Santonastasso. Nick's story is just simply incredible. Nick was born with a rare genetic disorder called Hanhart Syndrome, which meant he was born with underdeveloped limbs. In fact, he was just the 12th baby to be recorded with that syndrome. Now, Nick didn't enjoy an easy start to life, but he's gone on to demonstrate that with the right mindset, you can overcome any challenge. Nick right now is a world-famous keynote speaker. He's done 4 years of touring with the great Tony Robbins, and he's also the best-selling author of the book Victim to Victor. Now, if you're in need of inspiring figures in this world, and let's face it, we all kind of are, this is the one episode you absolutely do not want to miss.
At an early age, I didn't really realize I was different. I think as a kid, you're very pure, and the world hasn't tainted your brain and your soul yet.
In 1996, I was born with a super rare genetic disorder called Hanhart Syndrome, which either leaves the babies with undeveloped limbs or undeveloped organs.
And take it from the man with no legs and one arm, oftentimes it's not the physical body that holds you back, but the biggest disability you can have is a bad mindset. Share this with someone because it has the ability to change their life.
Nick, why don't you try wrestling?
Most of us walk around this world and we always say, well, what's wrong with me?
Nick, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to dive in some rabbit holes today.
Mate, it's surreal. I've seen you everywhere. I've seen you on stages, I've seen you on videos, and now I'm seeing you in the flesh.
Yes, here we are, Baby Yoda in the flesh.
It's very, very surreal. How are you, first of all?
I'm great. I just did 4 days in America.
Okay, doing what?
So just speaking. I went there, spoke for a day, saw my family, and then flew back.
Yeah.
And so acclimating back to Dubai, pace and time zone, but happy to be here.
Yeah, love it.
And I mentioned off camera that you have done some of the most incredible research on me. When we did our call and we met up, you shared my whole life. And I was like, he did really well, so thank you.
And look what it spat out. Like, this is the image. So those listening on audio, so he's looking over his shoulder. This is the AI image based on the bio that we did.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's this small, big touch that made the difference. And it's something that I'm going to note.
Yeah.
I have attention to detail, but thanks for over-delivering and making me feel at home.
No, look, that's one of the reasons why I also film at the house, because I want to make my guests feel as comfortable as possible. And the reason why I ask them to bring in their mug is they have a piece of home that they take with them. So usually some guests, they come on, they're a little bit nervous, a little bit kind of worried or anxious. So I ask them about the mug and it kind of relaxes them. Oh, let me tell you about the mug. So based on that, Nick, tell me about your mug. What's going on?
Yeah, so I have a very interesting mug here today. It's not essentially a mug. It's my only water bottle that is in my house. And because I literally moved to Dubai, I sold everything in America. I basically detached from all materialistic things, most materialistic things. And when I moved to Dubai, I haven't bought anything. I literally haven't touched my kitchen. I just get my meal preps. I have a very simple apartment. It's like for work and sleep. And so when you were like, bring a mug, I was like, well, I do have a bottle.
Yeah, and I hinted at that because I know you're a gym guy, right? Yeah. So I hinted at whatever you use at the gym. So that's your only bottle that you have?
I swear, it's the only thing that I have.
You put me in a bit of a predicament here because I normally steal that stuff and I put it on my mantelpiece.
I'm willing to give it to you.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm willing to give you.
Are you that kind of guy?
100%. 100%.
Man, that's awesome.
Because it forces me to then level up and maybe get more mugs so I'm more prepared in the future.
I love you already, man. I love that. You're paying it forward. Yeah. So why did you move to Dubai? Why did you leave the US?
Oh, great. Let's jump in there.
Because you mentioned it. That's why the mug that you brought. So what's going on?
For sure. So to give some context, right? I'm 29 and I've been in the game of entrepreneurship for about 8 years. And I think there was a few things that people told me when I was I'm still young, but a young entrepreneur that I didn't believe. One thing was all money's not good money. And I was like, okay, give me all your money. I'll take all the deals. And then you realize as you grow older and you do deals and you do business that there is good money and then there's bad money, whether it's in alignment with your core values, all that different type of stuff. And the other thing that I learned was sometimes you can build yourself into a valuable person, but if the environment doesn't reflect that, you start to question your own value. And so I've been in the game of speaking, coaching, personal development for about 8 years in America. And I built myself, at least I think, into this incredible communicator, incredible facilitator, but the environment wasn't conducive to who I was. And
what does that mean? Why wasn't it conducive?
I'll be direct. I think I exposed a lot of people.
Okay.
In the sense that when a true master of communication gets on stage, it shows you who the amateur is. And when I got invited to specific events with people in specific arenas and specific industries in America, they saw who was good and who wasn't, and they didn't want me around. Yeah. And so they kind of pushed me out of the market. At least that's what I felt. But also overall, I got to a point in my life, in my career, where I bought the cool house and I had the cool cars, and I looked at my business partner. I was like, is this it?
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah, I was like, and I had to learn that.
And you're still a kid. I know I'm not older. I know you're not a kid, but it's all relative.
Yeah. So that was the other thing too. Is like, oh, money doesn't buy happiness, and the car is only going to make you feel a feeling for a certain amount of time. I didn't believe it until I got it, and so I realized in that moment that nothing materialistic will ever fill a spiritual hole. And I think you have to learn that the hard way by experiencing it. And so I got to this point where I experienced it. And I looked at my business partner. I was like, dude, like, what else? And we felt stuck. We felt out of alignment. And also, I think for the majority of my entrepreneurship career, I made decisions from my head versus my heart. And I think a lot of men are more in tune with their head and not their heart. We need more heart-centered leaders. And so I got to the point where if something wasn't energetically aligned, I wasn't for it. And so I just looked at America. I was like, this isn't energetically aligned for me. I didn't like where it was going politically. I didn't like where it was going the food-wise and the water-wise and the differences and the division. And my best friend and my brother, who's my business partner, Ratmir, he's like my oracle, right? So the dynamic between me and Ratmir is like priest and king. And what I mean by that is
who's the priest, who's the king?
I'm the king, he's the priest.
Okay.
But the king didn't know he was a king. The priest knew he was a king before he was a king. So Ratmir already saw me on stage 8 years ago when I didn't see it. I had no idea. So
Man, I've got to find myself a Ratmir.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, no one can get Ratmir, right? If we can clone Ratmir, we'd be a lot richer and more efficient. And so he was like, we should go to. He did some meditation. He was like, we should go to Dubai. I was like, okay, I've never been to Dubai. I have no idea what Dubai is. And by the way, I have this American indoctrination that the Middle East is crazy and we probably shouldn't go there.
Standard.
Yeah. And so we booked an 8-day trip. And by day 3, we said, let's sell everything and move here. That was my Dubai story. And, I could go down a rabbit hole of all the amazing things about Dubai. But I think ultimately the lesson here is, and I speak for the men because I'm a man, but women, take what you will. I think as human beings, when we get too comfortable, we have to put ourselves back in the fire. And so for me to cut off, not fully, but leave the American market and go to the Middle East market and not know if I was going to survive was me going back into the fire and proving myself. And now fast forward a year later, it's the greatest decision I ever made in my life.
So you were 28 when you came here?
Yeah.
I was 28 when I came here.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
I was 28.
Okay.
I was living in the UK. I worked in the UK, and I bought a one-way ticket to Dubai. I'd only been here once, but I just wanted to get out. I had just had enough, and I wanted to change my life. Best thing I ever did. But it's the scariest thing you do because you're buying a one-way ticket. It's nuts. You're getting up, you're packing your bags, and off you go. And you don't know how long you're going to stay there. And most people come to Dubai, they're like, a couple of years, we'll see how it goes. 15 years later, my friend, 50, yes, I know, don't look it, but 15 years later, here I am, married, kids, and I've been set up. And I don't know if I'll ever going to leave. And that's the reality. Because the living here, the quality of life that you have, the security, the safety, the opportunity, mate, second to none.
Best in the world. But did you move because...
3 reasons.
Yeah,
I'll tell you openly. Yeah. Money, there's no tax here, right? Income tax versus in the UK. Man, I was paying 40%. I'm a 28-year-old. I'm paying 40% tax. Doesn't make any sense.
It's like I'm already poor.
Yeah, exactly.
What else do you want from me?
Number 2, the weather. Man, London has enough rain. I had seen enough for lifetimes, right? Third reason was because my parents are actually quite close. And I say close, they're not really. They live in Lebanon. Lebanon is what? 3.5-hour flight from here. It's only 4.5 hours from the UK. But psychologically, being being back in the Middle East, you somehow feel that you're reconnected to some of your culture. My dad's Lebanese.
Yes.
My mom's Italian. So that was another reason. But it was mainly for the money.
Yeah.
And then the weather.
Of course. Yeah, similar.
Yeah. So look, I usually ask my guests for a safe word. There's a lot of questions I want to ask you. Some elephant questions in the room, some are not.
Great.
But to protect you, I always ask my guests for a safe word. So if there's a question you don't want to answer, they have that get out of jail card. So what's yours?
Chupacabra.
Say that again.
Chupacabra.
What does that mean?
It's a Spanish word. It's
Okay.
like a little monster. And
Is
so
it?
when I'm in Colombia, I'm like, I'm Chupacabra,
No
like,
way,
you know,
no
so
way.
I don't know why that came to my brain, but
I
that's my
love
safe
that.
word.
I love that.
Yeah.
Are you a little monster?
I think I have a little monster in there.
Yeah, I think
I have a little monster that doesn't quit, a little monster that is one small decision from burning everything down.
Yeah.
I think there's all different parts of me. And what I've realized is not to neglect those parts of me, but to integrate all of them and love all of them for who they are.
So if I'm speaking with Ratmir, right? Let's put Ratmir in the hot seat. And I ask him about you. And I say, tell me one great thing about Nick. What's he going to tell me about you?
He loves people.
Okay.
He will do more for others than he'll do for himself.
Okay, and if I ask him the same question, if I ask the same person, I ask him, what's the one thing that Nick needs to work on and develop? What would he say?
Probably not spend so much money. Ratmir's the yin to my yang.
I
So
definitely need to Ratmir.
I'm like full expansion. We'll make more, push, and he's like, yo, get a deal, negotiate, use brand deals. Like, what are you doing? You don't have to pay for much things. Look at your brand. And I'm just like, I'm a buyer, you know. So he's more of like conservative, making sure everything's good, and I'm just like, spend it.
Yeah. Elephant in the room. Let's get out of the way. So you were born with a very rare genetic disorder. And
Yeah,
I
it made
think
me extremely handsome.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened.
100%. You've said that a lot of times, I'm guessing. You were the 12th ever baby that's recorded to have, it's called Hanhart Syndrome.
At the time, yes. So in 1996, I was born with a super rare genetic disorder, as you mentioned, Hanhart Syndrome, which either leaves the babies with undeveloped limbs or undeveloped organs. And in 1996, recorded, I was the 12th baby they've ever seen it happen to. And out of the 12, 8 of them have passed away due to undeveloped organs.
Are you in touch with any of them that's still alive?
One.
What's your relationship like?
With them.
Yeah.
Not close.
Okay.
Just more of like an acknowledgement, salute, here if you ever need support.
Okay.
But they're thriving. They're doing well. They have a big social media following. They kind of went the opposite direction, a total opposite direction of me. I won't get into that. But yeah, they're thriving.
I bet you no one's asked you this question. How are your organs?
Great. My organs are great. At least I think they are. And that's what happened when I was born. They immediately took me in to test my organs, and they came back and they were like, everything's healthy. The only thing that was affected were his limbs. And that was, Baby Yoda made it. I think that's one of the anchors for me when I get maybe lost or not grounded. I remind myself that I've already won.
Yeah. You had a
And you've won too.
Yeah, 100%.
Just being here.
You had, thanks for that. You had a 30% chance of living, survival. Is that right?
Yes.
And your parents made obviously a big decision, and they backed you all the way. But what I loved about the initial part of your story when we spoke as well is that they treated you the same, like all of your other siblings. They wanted you to kind of get on with it.
Yes.
To not make excuses and to not try and do special things for you.
Yes. I think, one of my biggest superpowers. My dad knew. I'll give my mom credit. Mom, you knew too. My parents knew that if they would have made the home this safe space and everything had wheelchair ramps and little loops on the zippers and everything, that I would have got smacked in the face when I left the house.
Yeah.
And I would say the dynamic between my parents is my mom's softy and my dad's hard.
Yeah.
And so my mom's mission for me was like, I just want you to be happy. And my dad was like, I don't care what you feel.
Yeah.
You got to make money.
Yeah.
You gotta provide for yourself. You're not gonna rely on the government. You're not gonna take handouts. Not under this household. You're not gonna sit around. Like he was pretty hardcore.
He was militant.
He would say differently now, and he's gonna watch this.
The irony is you've retired your dad now recently, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that an amazing feeling?
What a blessing. What a gift. Yeah, and that was my main driving force. You know, early on in my career. Can I go down a rabbit hole here?
Mate, go where you like. It's your show.
So I believe that there's two forms of motivation. There's push and there's pull. And most people have been pushing their whole life. You know, they're just getting by. They don't really have a deep, meaningful reason of why they do what they do. But when you identify a pull, it pulls you out of bed to do the things that you don't want to do. And I think we can agree in business and life, there's a lot of things that we don't want to do, but we put a smile on and we do it anyway. And I think during COVID, I was like, I needed a pull. And it was this really interesting process. It's called 7 Levels Deep, where basically you ask yourself, why is success important to me? And then you keep asking why.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where your answer goes from your head to your heart. And when I got to the bottom, my answer was, I want to give my parents a life like they gave for me. And just the fact, my sister asked me this, she's like, why do you go so hard? And like, why do you always like love on the parents so much? And you want to do so much for them. And I just looked at her, I was like, they didn't abort me.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? And she was like, oh my God, I never thought about it that way. And I was like, literally, like, I wouldn't have known, but I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they gave me a shot at life, even though I was supposed to die, and even though their family members and the doctors told them to abort me, or even if they had me to give them away, the fact that they went all in on me, I'm going to go all in on them. And so that was like my driving force, was the moment that I could be like, hey, mom and dad, you're good.
But do you still have that now? Because you've got to a situation financially that you've retired your parents effectively. So do you still have that same pull?
Yes,
Nick,
in the sense
Nick,
that...
Do you?
What?
You have the same pull?
I don't think it's as powerful. I think there's levels to retirement. So like I can get my dad a rollie, or I can, put them on business class, and I can give them different experiences. But I think once you check it off, you have to shift. And I don't know if I identified that next pull, because that was recent.
Yeah, you're in the middle of it.
That was a recent pull. And so maybe I need to do some more digging on what my next pull is. I think one of my pulls would be to leave Dubai, the most inclusive, accessible place in the world, because it's made me feel like home and it's welcomed me. And I've never really thought about legacy. Sometimes I think legacy is stupid. No one's going to remember you anyway. At least that's my belief. It's like, spend the money while we're here, have the experiences while we're here. The cars are going to keep carring, the birds are going to keep birding, like all the different things. I mean, I'll be direct. It's like look at Kobe Bryant. Like, Kobe's way cooler than me, at least I think. He's way more famous than me. And when's the last time you brought up Kobe? It literally was like months, and then no one talked about Kobe Bryant. So in my head, I'm like, legacy, okay, like I don't really know if that makes sense. But if there's anything that I want to leave behind, at least for the world, is that man made Dubai more inclusive and more accessible, because they gave him a gift and he wanted to keep giving it.
But you've only been here, what, a year or so?
Yeah, it changed my life in a year.
Man, that's crazy though.
It changed my life in 3 days.
For a city to have that big an impact on your life and want to give them that much legacy.
I fell in love with leadership. The third day that I was in Dubai, I fell in love with leadership. And it was this story where I was at the beach and I needed to use the restroom. And there was 3 restrooms, male restroom, female restroom, and then there was a restroom labeled POD. And I had no idea what that meant. I went to the worker, I said, sir, what does that mean? And he was like, that's people of determination. We don't use the word handicap or disabled, we use POD. And I like, what I teach is change the meaning, change the experience. Change the meaning, change the feeling. And so when I saw leadership, I'm not used to that. You come from UK, I come from America.
Yeah, they suck when it comes to leadership.
We're not used to that, right?
Yeah.
So when I saw from leadership down their level of consciousness, I was sold. I mean, just look, I've been doing incredible work in America for 8 years. The government has never talked to me. They've never brought me anywhere. They've never wanted me to do any initiative, any work for the country and infrastructure. And I mean, 2-3 months into living Dubai, I met His Highness Sheikh Hamdan. They wanted to bring me into the infrastructure. They wanted me to champion, they put me on the World Government Summit stage right after Elon Musk. They wanted this to be a global platform for me. Never in my life has leadership shown me more love than UAE. In my life.
Yeah. You know why it's a special place as well? Everyone belongs here. You know what I mean?
I get goosebumps. Yeah.
Everyone belongs here, man. Like, they don't turn their back on anybody. The UAE is a message to how, and I mentioned in a couple of other episodes, it's a message to how the world should be run if you're a country.
Yes.
Imagine every single country acts like the UAE. Right? You've got 200 different nationalities, cultures, all in a space that's, to be honest, tiny.
Yeah.
Right? New York
harmony.
State. Yeah, it's a tiny landmass. And it's like, it's so secure. It's so peaceful. The quality of life is high. And not only that, you have opportunities all the time to connect, to make money, to grow, and also not lose yourself.
Of course.
Geographically, we're also very close to some great places. Right?
Wow.
A few hours to Sri Lanka, Maldives, Seychelles, you know
Zanzibar,
Yeah.
Thailand, Bali, all the things.
On that note, are you dating?
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, we're going down that.
This is raw.
Are you
okay,
dating?
great. I am in the wee phases of dating.
Okay.
With a chick.
You have your safe word.
With
That's
a
why you
woman.
have your safe word. Don't forget.
I'm good on safe
You okay?
words
Okay.
right now. She's coming to Dubai in 3 days.
Very nice.
To
Someone
spend a
from
week.
where?
To spend a week with me.
Where's she coming from?
She's from Bali.
She's from Bali.
Yeah.
Beautiful
And
place.
what's interesting is 7 months ago, I saw her on my Instagram. I had no idea who she was. And I told my friends, I was like, I want that. And I think it was very dude centric, where I was like, oh, beautiful girl, tattoos all over her body. I was like, I want that. And then we didn't know each other. And then fast forward, I fly to Bali to do a mastermind and to speak. My first time in a gym, she's in the gym. She's like, how? Because we followed each other. And then from there.
Who slid into whose DMs?
Me.
Yeah, good lad.
Of course.
Own it, man.
Me,
Own it.
me.
Own that space.
I lead. I got to lead.
Yeah.
The masculine's got to lead here.
So the reason why I brought up the sort of the love aspect of the relationship is because when you first set out, you were like 20, 21-year-old, you wanted to get famous, to get girlfriends.
Chicks.
That was it. When you've said that openly on a few times.
Yeah.
So how has it been since you've got into the sort of the fame angle and being able to find the right type of person?
Yeah, it's a great question. This is my biggest battleground. As a man, this is my biggest edge of like intimacy, relationships, women, this whole dynamic, because this is like deep, deep trauma from when I was a young boy. And so I think this was my motivation always. Like from 16 on, I was like, I need the cars and the houses and the money and the watches and the cool things. So then I'll be loved, right? And I think that's a lot of at least younger, immature masculine men. That's their frame.
You're not the only guy.
You're the only guy. Yeah.
You're not
I'm the only guy. I was
You're
like,
not the only guy. We all
get the tattoos.
We all had a bit of that.
Yeah. And so that drove me for a very long time. And when I was 21, I got into a relationship. That relationship lasted 5 years. Very incredible relationship. Incredible woman, very healthy. And I burned that one to the ground. I burned that whole relationship to the ground. I felt energetically it was like this chapter was over. And when I broke up with her, sold the house, and I moved to Dubai, that was really fresh.
So that's why you left.
No. No, I would have stayed.
Okay.
But no, America's toxic.
I made you think.
No, America is toxic. But then again, all right, I don't know if I'd ever date a Western girl again.
Okay.
And not to call out Western, it's your environment. It's the environment that they're in. I think America's all jacked up in the sense of like, no one knows what masculine is. No one knows what feminine is. You have masculine women and you have feminine men, and we're all confused and we don't know which bathroom to go in and all the different things.
So look, I was in Sri Lanka about 10 years ago. Okay. And I'm getting a normal massage, not one of those massages, a proper normal massage. And I think she was Danish. Okay. And bizarrely, it came up. We were talking about the relationship between men and women. She said, the problem men they're supposed to be like suns. Okay. And women are supposed to be like moons. The sun has a purpose. It wakes up every day. It knows exactly what it needs to do. It gets tired. It goes to bed at the end. Women, like moons, are more mysterious, okay? They're magical, they change, they evolve. She said that the reason why the world is going this way is because men don't know how to be suns anymore, and women don't know how to be moons anymore. You've got the suns mixing with the moons mixing with the suns, and it's kind of this convergence that's kind of making things relatively unclear. And this was 10 years ago. It stuck with me because it really captured the essence of what and how she defined what it is to be a man. I look about it now, I'm like, I need to have a purpose. A man needs to have a purpose, right? The why, you call it, the pull, whatever the case is. And a woman, for me, needs to be magical. She needs to be mysterious. I don't want it to be so obvious. And I celebrate that. And the whole masculine energy, feminine energy, when we step into different roles, fine, okay. But at its core, if you know who you are, and you embody that masculine energy, you're going to hopefully attract the right type of feminine energy.
1,000,000%. I love that. I love that analogy. And I think, to be honest, I think that's where my work will lead me soon. Because most of my work is psychology and communication.
Yeah.
But my biggest edge isn't speaking in front of 50,000 people. That's easy to me. My biggest edge is that dynamic.
And you love it, right? You love standing in front of all those people.
Of course. Yeah. It meets a lot of needs.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I have the best job in the world because to witness healing is to receive healing.
How many times have you said that?
A lot.
It's very nice.
A lot.
It's very nice.
Yeah, because we're all mirrors for one another.
Yeah.
And also, every time you speak something, you heal it yourself. And so I always tell my students, I'm like, you don't know if I'm coaching you or just having a private conversation with myself and you're listening.
Just saying it out loud, yeah. What's it like working with Tony Robbins?
Best in the world. There's no Nick without Tony. And I will give all my kudos to the GOAT because he's laid the blueprint. But ultimately, he elevated my standard in the sense that when I first got into speaking, I got into speaking for money. I saw people that were speaking and getting money for it. I was like, yo, we could do this. Ratmir's like, bro, you just share your story. That's our inside joke. Even now, I'm like, what should I do on stage? He's like, share your story, right? And so, but when I experienced Tony, I realized, there's levels to the craft. And I watched the man for 4 days, watch people make him cry and laugh and angry and break through. And I was like, I want to learn that. And so working with Tony has allowed me to become the baby Yoda, the man that I am today. And it also allowed me to collapse time. And so I believe that when you study the best, you go further faster. And I'm just standing on the shoulders of my giants.
So
and
what
he's
makes
definitely a
him?
giant.
What makes him, in your opinion, the best? Why is he such a great public speaker?
He outworks everybody. He's like 64 and he's still running laps around people my age. But I also think it's his willingness to learn. His head is never too big, and so he's always optimizing, he's always learning, he's always gathering new information, but also he's obsessed with the needs of his people. And I think, when we talk about humans or leadership or relationships, the highest level of leadership or relationships is identifying people's needs and over-delivering on their needs. And so I've seen him obsess over humans and what their needs are and do more for them than anyone else in the marketplace, and that's why he wins.
So why you? Why did he sort of pick you, if you like, as his protege?
That's a good question. I think I bothered him long enough until he cracked. But basically, I went to an event and I was in front row and I was jumping up and down and screaming and doing all the things for 4 days. And he was like, who is this dude with no legs of an arm that's playing full out more than other people with all their arms and all their legs? So that caught his attention. But also back then, no one knew who I was. And so literally I would go to the event and then I would go up to the security guard. I'd be like, hi, I'm Nick and I'm a speaker. And then I would like go up to some random lady catering food. I'd be like, hi, I would just try to plant seeds everywhere. And eventually it got to him. And he invited me to his next event. And then there was nothing. And Ratmir is relentless. And so Ratmir every month would be like, Nick just climbed a mountain. Nick just wrote a book. Nick just did this. And they were like, okay. And I want Nick on stage. I want Nick on stage. I want Nick stage. And no. And then finally they gave me an opportunity to speak at a youth conference that Tony wasn't at. And they tested me. They were like, we can't pay you. We can't fly you out. And we can't buy your hotel room. Yeah. And I was like, absolutely not. Ratmer's like, you're an idiot. We're doing it. And so I did that. And that led to, they tested me out on Tony's stage. And I already studied the man. I already knew how to make the crowd go crazy. I already studied the modalities. And so I burned it down. And then they were like, who is this? He kept the energy just as high as Tony. And then Tony was like, I want you on all of my things.
That was 4 years you talked with him.
Yeah, 4 years. And then I've never shared this ever. I love you, by the way, Tony, if you ever see this.
I hope he does.
I think I didn't intentionally do it, but I crossed one of the lines. One of the rules is never outshine the mentor. And I was causing too much transformation and I was causing too much feedback about Nick. And then I'm off stage. But one of the greatest compliments I can ever get. And you learn that, right? When you have your own stage, you don't want to dilute your stage with other savages because then you're not the main guy. And so I totally get the frame and the perceived value, but all kudos to him because I would not be anywhere near as transformational as I am if it wasn't for his.
Look, it takes a real, a person with real conviction and strength of character to bring someone like you on board who could potentially outshine him.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Insecure people don't do that.
For sure.
Would you ever take your own protege on board? Were you looking to find your own protege?
100%. I believe that if the mentor is good enough, the mentee shall pass him. What am I here to harbor knowledge for and harbor skills and harbor modalities? It's like, I just want to pour into people. And if you pass me, so be it. Because that's what it's all about. If I can help people go further faster, then I'm a G. I'm the GOAT.
What's the one thing that you think every great public speaker has to have? Non-negotiable.
Heart-centered.
Heart-centered.
Heart-centered. That's where everybody misses. I think most speakers are so focused on themselves, they don't even realize that they just want to be on stage because of themselves and their own significance and the claps and the applause, and that's really cool. But it's all about the people.
Yeah. I do a lot of private work myself with public speaking, coaching. And I do teach the same thing. I teach others about the value of unlocking the heart, but I do it through authenticity, not through the typical ways, but through vulnerability, through purpose, through belief, through conviction. And more than anything else is you have to have the passion. You have to have a real motive behind it. I'm like, well, yeah, but what if I work in tax insurance? Or what if I work in finance? How can you be passionate about that? No, but there's always a human motive behind anything.
Yes.
Right? I'm working my ass off so I can give my kid the best bicycle. There's a blue bike that he wants to buy. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. You focus on that, my goodness, whatever presentation that you have, you're going to destroy it in a good way.
Yeah.
So there's always a human motive behind absolutely everything. So unlocking that emotion with that passion, no one remembers the presentation. Everyone always remembers the presenter.
Yes.
No one's going to go, oh, you know what? I love slide number 3 at that point. Come on.
Never.
You know what I mean?
Never.
They want to feel something. They want to see something. They want to hear something. They want to connect with something. It's all about the emotional connection. The thing is, what I'm realizing in the world of AI and tech, everyone now has got to a point where they are looking for differentiation because everything else is becoming a sea of sameness.
It's good for us.
Exactly.
It's brilliant.
So being able to communicate effectively your own brand in an authentic way with that bucket load of passion, my goodness, man, you can be unstoppable.
That's the X factor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with the whole vulnerability and authenticity thing. I think a lot of men think or programmed or picked up that the vulnerability and authenticity was weak. And I think that's one of my greatest connectors, right? Because I'm an all out, I'll talk about my brother dying. I'll talk about my insecurities. I'll talk about me wanting to kill myself. Like, you name it, I'll talk about it, because I know that I'm going to be a mirror for someone in there. And I think oftentimes most speakers and teachers and experts, they
shy away.
They only talk about their hero. They don't talk about their zero story.
Yeah.
Right. And no one relates to a perfect life. And so I'll be messy. If I'm going to tell my people to have messy life and take messy movement, I'm going to lead from the front and be a mess.
Can it ever be too much for
sure.
people? Where you overstep, where it's like you actually scare them to the point of, when you talk about, I've tried to commit suicide, you say that once, but if you go into detail of that, that can really alienate audiences. So how do you find that balance between vulnerable and...
Yeah, good.
Yeah?
Yeah, please. I think I spent too many years trying to create a perfect message so everybody would love it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's unauthentic, but I feel like where it gets too much is if you are only talking about the hardship and you're not showing how you transmute it. Like you can tell when a lot of speakers are still a victim of that.
Yeah.
Versus like, I'm sharing this and this is how I unlocked it and this is how I transmute it and this is how you do it too. But some people just go down on their sob story and so be it. But I feel like if you play victim too much, like that's overdoing it.
Hence the book.
Yeah, victim to victor. Yeah. So I think it's all aligned when you show them how to transmute it. But if you're just going to stay in the pain place.
So you try to kill yourself?
Yeah.
How many times?
Well, once, but I wasn't strong enough and didn't have the...
How old were you in this episode?
I was 21.
So this is just before you really took off?
And in the sense of like trying, it wasn't as aggressive as what most people think. It was my 21st birthday. I was in Miami. What's so interesting too, what's coming up for me is I actually shared this story and I got made fun of online all about it. Like the wrong algorithm found it and they were just making fun of me because of the fact that I wanted to take my life, but I'll share it with you.
Thank you.
I was 21 and we were celebrating in Miami and everybody brought a chick back except me. And I was crushed, right? And that was evidence for me that I was like, I'm not enough. I'm disgusting. I'm 21. I'll never have love. I'll never have a relationship. And I went out into the balcony and I like slid the chair over to the balcony because I'm short. I couldn't jump over the balcony. I had to get the chair by it. And I kind of looked over the balcony and I went through this whole thought process of like, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe we should do it. And I kind of weighed the consequences and kind of thought about my parents and I thought about my business partners and I was like, okay, maybe it's not worth it, but I was in a very, very dark place and that's how deep the wound of women was for me. And it's still, you can still feel it's still touchy for me.
I can see it in your eyes.
It's still touchy for me. And I can just think about like my 13-year-old self, like, man, if I can go back and be like, hey, it's going to be hard, but eventually you're going to figure it out. Eventually you're going to find love, or eventually you're going to change lives. Eventually it's going to be worth it. But I think those moments are some of the greatest gifts. It gives me contrast. But yeah, it was very, very dark place for me. And if it wasn't for like my brothers and community, who knows what would have happened. But I'm the mindset guy, right? Yeah. And I share this from a place of like, I'm not preaching from a place of perfect. I'm preaching from a place of I'm a mess too.
Yeah.
And I have all these different parts of me. But we only get to use our tools when things don't go our way. And so those are the moments where you find yourself or you lose yourself. Those are the moments where you take your life and go through the old programming, or you override it and have the new identity. And so I'm grateful for those moments, but that was a not so good moment for Nick.
So why was it such a big deal for you women, such a young age? Why was that the turning point? Or if you like, the point where you were like, you know what, I'm going to end it. What happened that made it so difficult for you to feel that you could ever be loved or have a girlfriend or whatever the case may be?
I think that was the way I felt worthy. I think I've seen friends, boys and girls, date and have love and have that intimacy and experience, and I didn't experience much of that. And so I put a lot of my worth on external things, and probably the heaviest thing that I put it on was women and their validation and how they perceived me. And so I basically gave my power away to women at a very early age, and my mood would be regulated based on their responses and how they showed up or what they gave me or what they didn't give me. And I felt like even though I was 21 and like I had a bunch of followers,
Yeah.
you know, I was a speaker, and it's like, you still, no, you still can't figure this out. Like, what an idiot.
So it would hurt more if it was coming from a woman than it would from a
100%.
man. So emotionally, they could destroy you much easier than with a man.
100%. And I think that came from my school bus story, where I was like 16 and there was a girl making fun of everyone. And she was just like, hey, I don't even have to make fun of you, Nick. You're already too screwed up anyway. And I started to adopt that. I started to adopt that belief of like, maybe she's right. Maybe I am disgusting. Maybe I am screwed up. Maybe I'll never find love. And so I carried that evidence, and I would create that evidence, or I'd focus on the evidence that I wasn't enough. And especially as a man, I didn't feel like a man. Imagine being in a man body, but not feeling like a man, and feeling inadequate and not enough, and trying to live up to the other men around you. And so I just felt like not enough. And I think a lot of my success came from that wound. I think the majority of my success came from like, all right, I'm not enough. Let's go. I'm gonna get the tattoos, and I'm gonna get jacked, and I'm gonna get the money, and I'm gonna get the house. I'm gonna get all of it. Screw you, right? Because from the moment I was born, the doctors already put limitations on me. So I had this chip right out of my mom. You know, I had the chip on my shoulder, right?
No, it wasn't even a chip; it was a potato. It was like it was a bucket of potatoes.
Yeah.
I was like,
it was
wait,
a whole satchel, right? It was a whole bag. And so, yeah. But I think if anyone could look at my life, like if there was one word to describe my life, it would be like transmutation or alchemy.
So what is that? What does transmutation mean for you?
Oh man, transmutation means
It's a fancy word.
Yeah, I'll say alchemy, or being an alchemist, but taking something that is not so good or perceived as not so good and turning into empowering fuel, turning into something beautiful, right? And I think that's my whole life. You know, people look at me and they're like, oh, his life is screwed. And I'm like, no, it's great. My life is incredible now.
How do you want, okay, so people who know you, know your story, they can fall in love with your story and your mindset and your approach. The people that don't know you, who see you on stage, on videos, they're skimming, you know, they're skimming through on Instagram or any other social platform, they will make a quick decision about you without knowing your past, what you've been through. Do you care? Does it bother you about people thinking, what they're saying? Have you got to a point inside that you're strong enough where it doesn't kind of, it's water off a duck's back, as you say in the UK?
Yeah. Doesn't affect me as much now. But when I was young, I came into like fame or followers very early on. So when I was 18 years old, I used to be a prankster. And so I dressed up as a zombie and I would scare people. And I got really famous for it. And it was like overnight famous. But it was also overnight the whole world commenting on who you are. And so I've heard I've seen the most disgusting comments. But what hurt me even more was I knew my parents were reading them. And so like there was terrible things said in the comments. And so I didn't know how to deal with that as an 18-year-old. And it would like dysregulate my nervous system. I'd be like really depressed and didn't know how to navigate that. And I think that was just my level of consciousness. And as you evolve and as you ascend, now my initial instinct is like compassion, like, oh man, like they must be really struggling that they have to sit on a keyboard and like make fun of a kid with no legs, one arm. Like they must be really in a deep spot. And so for now, at least in my life, I've got to the point where it's like compassion and empathy because I know they're hurting, right? It's that quote, hurt people. But for me, now it's a level of compassion because my life is incredible now.
Yeah.
It's like my life is dope. You know, like I live a great life and I almost feel bad. It's because imagine having all your arms and all your legs and then seeing someone with less than you having more than you.
How should people greet you when they first meet you? Because I've seen so many, because I was, when you came in, I was on my phone. Okay, I was sending a message to someone else. I didn't know what to do. I kind of, in that moment, I froze. Do I go down super low? Do I get your eye level? Do I stay up? Like, how would you prefer to be greeted?
It's a good question. I think I always trip people up, you know, especially if they don't know. It's like, do I fist bump him? Is that a fist bump? Is he pointing at me? Do I high one him, high five? Like, what's the whole spiel?
Because people don't know you, they don't want to offend. So they don't know if you want special treatment or you don't want, like your dad, right?
Yeah.
So do I like, hey dude, how's it going?
Yeah.
And I took that road.
Yeah.
I was more that rather than the other way.
Of course.
But that was a gut feel that I did at the time.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. What I do like, I'll share. What I do like is when people drop down to my level.
When they do.
Yeah, when they do drop down to my level.
Damn it.
No, but no problem.
I've actually been on my phone. Yeah.
I just think it's like, oh, thanks, you know, versus like the whole looking up kind of thing. But it is what it is, you know.
I promise. The first time we meet, mate, I'm getting lower. I'm getting even lower.
He's like on the ground. But yeah, I just for me, I like to, like I said, identify people's needs and make them feel comfortable. And so I think I only knew that I liked that when someone did it for me.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Are you good
Thanks.
at reading people's energies
Yes.
and seeing if they have positive intentions for you or negative?
Yes.
Are you good at that?
Not as good as
radar?
Ratmir.
Ratmir again, man.
Yeah, because
I should have got Ratmir on the show.
Yeah, next time, right?
Next time.
But I'm a more of the big heart guy, so I like see the best in people and I love on people. And Ratmir's like,
Me too.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
no, Nick. You know, and so I think I see the best in people, and so
It's a good thing, man. It's a good thing.
one of my mentors told me, big heart sometimes equals big broke.
Yeah.
You know, and so sometimes
That's a cynic. Look, I'm older than you, so I can say this. You're going to mature even more as a man, as a person. And I've done a lot of self-work on me. I've done a lot of theta healing. I've done a lot of subconscious repair work, removing those limiting beliefs. Right now, I just want to be my very best self. And I care less than I used to, right? And that's so important. So it allows you to, if you want to love in a big way, love in a big way. Have that emotion, have that heart, because it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And those who say otherwise, okay, that's their own issues. Like you said about the keyboard warriors they have their own hurt and pain. But if you are in a good place and you have literally solidness inside, doesn't matter.
For sure. I think it's scary to love.
Yeah.
I think it's scary to expose yourself like that. Like even with this new thing, this new intimacy, a part of me is like, don't be a lover. Yeah, I'm a lover.
You love her.
I'm a lover boy.
Have you told her you love her?
No. But I'm saying I'm a lover boy.
I know, but
right?
have you told this girl?
No, too early. Too early.
How long has it been?
It's only been weeks.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
yeah, we're chilling.
But
right
I'm
now.
pushing for Chupacabra.
Chupacabra?
Yeah, I'm still pushing. You haven't said it yet.
No, we're good, bro. But I think where I've landed as well is similar to what you said, and I appreciate the reflection is love fully, because at least at the day you knew you exercised the muscle, right? And if someone jades that, or if someone hurts you, take the lesson and move on. But
would you rather not be yourself and be happy-ish, or be yourself and be happy with that person, and then you get your heart broken? That's ultimately what it's about. Yeah, because you don't have to then second guess yourself.
What was your first heartbreak?
Oh, good question. First heartbreak. Oh yeah, I tell you, I was 12 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm a man, I have an Italian mom, Lebanese dad, right? I'm a Scorpio. So, like, literally, when they were building me, it's like emotion and passion, like, pouring out. Her name, I remember her name. I was 12 years old, and her name was Zoe Hardman. Okay? She's actually she's a presenter in the UK now. Okay? She's quite famous. You can Google her, or Chat GPT, or whatever you want to do. I was dating her for about 3 or 4 days. And back then when you're 12, it's like you just hold hands, it's nothing more. 3 or 4 days later, she breaks up with me to date a guy called Charlie Wiggett, who was a friend of mine. And I still remember that. So that was my first, like, oh my God, that actually really hurt. I got over it a few weeks later. So it wasn't really love. Yeah. But, these are the sort of the seeds that I remember, and they sort of help form who you are. Yeah. And it's good to fall in love, man. Get your heart broken. It's okay. You'll meet the right person, inshallah, in the future. And if you don't, that's also okay, as long as you're all right with yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Well, shout out to Charlie.
Yeah, no. Shout out to Zoe. I am married though, and I'm happily married. But I would love to take you through some questions now, right? So usually, just this time of the show, I ask my guests to take a golf ball out of a bag.
Great.
There are 6 questions. So I'm going to pick out the ball. You do the reading. Cool.
Great.
Hi everyone. I really hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Throughout my career, I've met a lot of people that have anxiety when it comes to public speaking. If you're someone that has that anxiety or nervousness and has always wanted to be more confident in public speaking, but you're also not sure where to go or how to start, the good news is I might be able to help. I have 20 years experience working in corporate communication. I'm a former regional CEO, and I've helped to win over 80 different clients through new business pitches. With so many online trainings based on theory, I wanted to share what's helped me in the business world. I've launched my own training program called Master Pitch. This 7-module course covers everything you need to know, whether it's learning how to really understand the audience, how to deliver real impact, or how to effectively storytell. I've got it covered. With practical tips and real examples, you can immediately start turning that anxiety into confidence. Also, in a world of AI, there's never been a more important time to invest in your personal brand and in developing your public speaking. For more information, go to lucaallam.com or drop me an email at info@lucaallam.com. Right, let's get back to the episode.
What inspires more, speaking your own authentic mind or asking others to challenge theirs? Speaking your own authentic mind. That's a great question. I think challenging others. I think I talk about myself too much. I'm always talking about myself. I'm always speaking my authentic self. Nick, create content. Nick, share your story. Nick, do this, right? This is what we're doing right now. And I love it. I think what's more is getting people to cross the line. Like you're trying to get me to cross the line.
Going to the
This
dark
is your
side.
question that you like, right? But I think, yeah, getting people to cross their edge,
Yeah.
to open up, to have a breakthrough. I think I love breakthroughs. I think I
Yeah.
love seeing people cross the line and accessing a part of themselves that they've never seen before. And because once you experience it, you can never unexperience it.
Yeah, and then as they're talking, they start to realize it. It's like the penny drops. Like, oh wait, hold on, and then you go a little bit deeper. And
Yes.
they keep going.
Yes.
There's even more coming out.
And you give them a great gift. You give them a great gift of expansion. And I think that's what you're doing to me.
Yeah, like challenging people is a good thing. You really are challenging yourself because you're asking the same questions of them that you should be asking.
Yes.
What's good? But if you're good inside, then it doesn't really matter so much. But
Yes.
how often do people actually talk authentically? Because this word drives me nuts. I hate the word because it's been overused and mislabeled. I think, and this is Luca's truth, you can't be authentic without showing vulnerability. I just don't see how you do that. If you show a certain image all the time, okay, yes, you speak your truth, but you're not being vulnerable, you're not being honest with showing other people the other side to you, you're never being authentic.
I agree. Yeah.
But no one's really that vulnerable. They never show it, or they'll show you 5% of it. They're never going to open up their guts and say, this is who I really am, this is what I'm all about. This
Why?
is my bad stuff.
Why?
I don't know, because they're scared of the other person's reaction. They're scared of how the perception of them might change. Maybe they're scared of what they're going to come up with. They're going to go down that rabbit hole, like you said. They're going to find stuff that they didn't even know that they had was an issue.
Yeah.
Could be all the above.
Yeah, I think we just reprogrammed that authenticity is weak, or we saw people play facades and have masks. Like for example, in my family, I believe that it was from the outside, we're perfect. And from the inside, it was
everything
like,
is fine.
Yeah, yeah. And then from the inside, it was like, it was a little bit chaotic, but it's like never show that.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, I feel like there's a fear, or there's a lot of like indoctrination from family.
Yeah.
And especially, I think in Dubai, a lot of people wear masks, and
100%.
even me, I have masks that I need to shed too. And I think, but I also think too, it takes a safe container for people to break through that.
You need to be a little bit cautious. You shouldn't be opening up
Yeah.
left, right, and center, because that shows something else, another side, which is, attention seeking, and which I really detest. But it's those who feel that they should never, because they will be judged. Or I'm of a certain age. I'm in my 40s or my 50s. I'm a guy, for example. It's a stereotype, but Arab men are very, very proud. The older that they get, they shouldn't be crying. They shouldn't be opening up, right? These are the people, ironically, that need the most amount of work and help to open up. And I see it firsthand. And I see some generations do the other extreme.
Provide countless breakthroughs for others, or reach self-awareness that counts just for you. That's a really good question. That's a tricky question. That's a really great question. Well, I think it'd have to be the breakthroughs for others, because you framed it as just for you. And if it's just for me, that means I can't share it. And that means I can't be an offering.
But it's self-awareness. And self-awareness is like, it's up there, man, with like the best things you could ever have.
But it's just for me.
It's just for you. And is that a bad thing? If it's just for you? Is it wrong to be a little bit selfish and try and put yourself first?
No. But I think when it comes to...
You take greater joy helping other people?
It's my whole life. I have a core programming. My core programming is, if I bless enough people, I'll be blessed. I also believe that people who hold their knowledge to themselves are selfish. I believe that if you have experiences and results, you now have to be an offering to the world. And so it's totally against my programming to just keep it to myself. And so I would say provide countless breakthroughs for others.
Who programmed you?
Me. No, not me. Not all me. Everyone, environment. There's thoughts in there and programs that aren't even mine that I'm still working through. But I believe when it comes to like service and contribution, that's probably a Tony programming. Do more for others than you do for yourself. Step up. That's a Tony thing, right? Because I just saw, he was like, if you provide more value than anyone else in the marketplace, you always win. And so I think I got programmed to obsess over other people.
So if you help other people, you're going to get, in the future, you're going to get your karma, if you like, in a positive way.
Yeah. Money, resources, blessings, fulfillment, contribution, like all the doors were open if I could just be a blessing to enough people.
Do you believe in the afterlife? Are you a God-fearing person? Are you a God-loving person? Do you believe in God?
Okay. This is great. I have an interesting relationship with God, religion, whatever you call it. I believe I'm it, in the sense that I believe that I'm cut from the same cloth of my creator, and that I'm the creator of my experience. I'm the creator of my human experience. Like, I'm the main character. And there's a piece of God in me. And so I can create things out of thin air, and I can create relationships out of thin air, and I can get money and resources out of thin air. And I believe that anytime that I surrender that power to something else, that I'm losing who I really am. I believe that when we came here, they erased us, and you forgot that you are it. You are the creator. And so my relationship with God is that it is me, it's in me, and it's a higher frequency, it's a high vibration. And when we go back to where we are, it's going back home. But I think we come here as a battleground and as a human experience to figure out life. And I have no idea what I did in my past life for them to put me in this damn body, but maybe it was good or maybe it was bad. But this is my true final test of like, let's see if he can beat the game on hard mode. I believe that I am it. But for example, I was raised Christian, so I'm a big fan of Christ, but my relationship with Christ is way different than most Christians. I wouldn't hang out with most Christians because of the most judgmental people. It's like they're judging everyone else.
Maybe an American.
yeah, maybe an American, right? So I believe that Christ was an offering. Christ gave himself, check this out. Whether Christ was real or not, people still follow him. He has a significant impact in the world, whether he was real or not. This guy clearly created a story for himself. And if the crucifixion was real, he basically gave himself for the world. And so that's my methodology, or my programming is like, my human experience isn't just for Nick. My human experience is for you. My human experience is for everybody that sees the man with no legs, one arm, and he has a smile, he cracks a joke, or he cries. There's some gift that I can give by just being Nick. And so I believe that my intention is to build myself into the best Nick and give myself to the world. I also believe that the Bible was actually created by man, and it's actually encrypted code, and there's deeper meaning behind it, and we're not smart enough to figure out what it is. That's my rabbit hole. And a lot of people, this is going to piss a lot of people off.
No.
And by the way, I love learning about all religions. I think one of the greatest things coming to UAE was looking at Muslim culture, and from someone in America who they indoctrinated me that these are terrible people and they're radical and they're crazy. They're incredible. They're incredible people. I love kunafa. I love majlises. I love the fact that the Muslims want to know your heart before they do business with you. I love the fact that they want to feed you before they do business with you. I love the fact that they sit around on the couch and drink tea and just hang out. There's so much community. There's so much camaraderie. There's so much love and compassion. And I believe that if more people did business like Muslims, it'd probably be a better place.
Yeah, like you mentioned a couple of things inadvertently around storytelling. Okay, you talked about the story of Jesus. You talked about the story of how Americans perceive Islam over here, etc. How powerful and how destructive is storytelling in the right hands and in the wrong hands?
That's a great question. Okay,
do you know what TV is? TV is literally television.
Yeah,
tell a story.
all programming.
Yeah. So
good and bad.
In the right hands and the wrong hands, how destructive or how powerful can it be?
Yeah. So so how powerful it is. We always say facts tell, stories sell. And so if you want to embed powerful beliefs and empowering beliefs, you can do it through stories. If you want to sell people on a product that can change their life, you do it through stories. If you want to inspire younger generations, you tell them cool stories and it gives them inspiration. But also every time that you share an empowering story, you're healing yourself. So especially how many times have I talked about my brother overdosing? I probably worked through it because of my storytelling. And so I think it's a very powerful healing modality. It's a very powerful influence modality. It's a very powerful way to get your point across and to build belief in people. Now, on the other side of things, all of what I said, but in the negative way, right? So if you continuously tell yourself a negative story, that's your belief. That's your new belief system. You can use stories to manipulate people. You can use stories to have people buy things that they shouldn't buy. You can tell stories to tell people to go do things that they shouldn't do. You can, embed their brain with viruses, right? You can get them to be in a fearful state. And you can also embed beliefs that will stay with people for the rest of their lives that are just not true. So I think it's a very powerful tool. And I think we see it on both ends. I mean, look at news.
Yeah. So
the news is just stories, and they're not good stories ever.
Yeah, never. So here's my follow-up question: What's the biggest lie through a story that's ever been told?
In my life,
it could be your life. It could be what you see.
I think the universal one that screws most people up is the story of you got to work harder. You got to work harder to make more money. I mean, especially from our parents down, that was our thing, right? Got to work harder.
That was my grandparents telling my parents, telling me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that lie has destroyed a lot of people because if hard work equaled more money, the donkey would own the farm one day. if hard work equaled more money, the guys building the skyscrapers in Dubai would be rich, but they're not. Right? And so it's a lie. You've been lied to your whole life about the harder you work equals more money. And so I think that was one of the most crucial lies and stories that we've been told, because it takes the same amount of energy for you to close $1 million as it takes for you to close 50.
As they say in America, preach. Do you say that in America? Yeah?
Preach.
Preach. Ready for the next ball?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you like my branding on the golf balls?
I love it. This is
Lucas
great.
is-
I've never held a golf ball and read a question off of it.
Well, there you go, mate.
Does physical and challenge empower mindset, or does mindset overpower physical challenge? Let me read this again.
Yeah. So it's basically chicken and egg. What leads what? Does the physical challenge empower the mindset, right? Or does the mindset overcome the physical challenge?
The mindset overcomes the physical challenge. This is my belief, because there are people with all their arms and all their legs who are still handicapped and crippled by the mind. There are also a bunch of PODs who aren't out there with, I think, a lot of purpose and fulfillment and motivation. And I was that person as well. I was a victim for 19 years of my life. I hated my body. I thought it was the most disgusting thing that could happen to me. And I could have just kept going on that path. But it was the mindset work that totally changed my whole frame on my body. And so I believe that it's the mindset that overpowers the physical body. And what's really beautiful is you can always change the mindset, but you can't change the body. And so I believe that the mindset comes first, and it doesn't matter what, you can be perfectly normal, but still more handicapped than I am because of the psychology.
Doesn't it really annoy you and piss you off when you see all these people physically capable, right? And yet they have a terrible mindset? Does that annoy you?
It used to. Like older Nick, aggressive Nick would be like, especially people who weren't in shape. I'm like, give me your arms, give me your leg. I want to go run. I want to go pick up some dumbbells. Like, how dare you not use your vessel to the best of your ability? And so at first I would get really pissed off. But like I said, over time, now I realize everybody's on their own timeline, at their own pace, at their own awakening. And if you don't get the lesson this lifetime, hopefully you come back and get that lesson the next lifetime. But I'm not telling you that I know that there's going to be another lifetime. But it's man, at this stage, it's more compassion and empathy. Because it's like, I feel bad. I really do feel bad when I see people that have all their arms and all their legs and they're still stuck. And they tell these stories and you can see their programming. God bless you, right? And also, I think I've spent a lot of my career trying to change people versus just doing work on myself. You know, the great Alan Watts. You know Alan Watts?
No.
It's like a spiritual guru. He's dead. Or is he still floating around? But he said the most important work.
He's right with that.
Alan, actually, there he is. He said the most important work you need to be doing is in the privacy of your own heart. And so I believe that Nick just needs to become the best version of Nick. And if that trickles off on people, so be it. But
So
also,
what is the best version of Nick? What does that look like? What does it mean? 'Cause it's very easy to say, but the reality is what does that actually look like? Do we have any idea what the very best version of ourselves is? Are we capable of understanding?
No, I don't think we do. I think
have
it's in the
no
pursuit
idea,
of it.
man. Yeah.
I think just the pursuit of it.
And that's the human truth, is that
Yeah.
we'll never be perfect.
No.
We'll just keep trying. We'll keep moving. We'll keep.
There's no perfect.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, I agree. It's just the pursuit of that. I think the best version of Nick looks like a more regulated nervous system. I think the version of Nick is in touch with his head, but also in touch with his heart. I think the version of Nick cries, he laughs, he feels all the emotions. I think the version of Nick is always stripping away masks. I think the version of Nick is losing himself and finding himself and loving all versions of him. That's what I think the best version
And
is.
falling in and out of love.
Yeah,
You big romantic sop.
Yeah, falling in and out of love, for sure.
You ready for the next one?
Of course.
All right, buddy. We've got a system now, you see? It's working.
At first it was the hand, then it was the chin.
Man,
This
you
was
got a great jawline, so you're good.
Thanks. Can playing the victim help you manipulate others to make you the victor? 1,000,000%. What a great question.
Because obviously play on words with the book that you have.
Yes, victim to victor, right? I think there's two identities, but playing victim is sexy for a lot of people because you meet needs of significance, needs of connection, needs of maybe the illusion of growth and contribution can get met, and you get golden stars and you get more comments on your Facebook profile and everybody reaches out to you and they check in.
You still on Facebook?
I don't, my team does. I'm not on Facebook. My parents are, so maybe I keep posting.
Yeah.
But it meets a lot of needs, and that's why it's sexy, and that's why it feels good, right? People validate your excuses, they validate your stories, they validate your limiting beliefs and all the negative stuff, and they play into it. you can meet connection, right? Let's talk about our problems together and our victim stories, and now we feel connected, right? So it's a slippery slope. But what I will say is it's not sustainable, and eventually you will be exposed, or eventually one day you'll realize that this isn't getting me anywhere. I've just been in this victim loop talking about the past my whole life.
It'll get boring and it'll get old.
Of course,
And there'll
I
be
hope
someone
so.
else with a bigger victim story.
And then you'll try to outdo them with your even more sob story, right? So I think it's a slippery slope, but society rewards victims.
Social media.
Social
Right,
media
that
does.
algorithm,
Yeah.
right? Just kind of, you get into that loop, and all of a sudden you're seeing one sob story after the other, and by the end of it, you just want to.
You're drained.
Yeah, it's like a mental marathon, and you're like, okay, but it's like everyone's trying to outdo each other with this victim thing, right? Here you are, right, and you could have all of the excuses in the world, yet you use none of them. Just get on with it. No special treatment. You literally come in, walk in right through the front door, right? Jump up onto the couch, onto the chair, have a conversation. I'm handing you a golf ball. You're reading it through your jaw with your finger. Mate, you have all of the excuses in the world. You just crack on. You just don't care. Or if you do, you just don't show it. And it's amazing. And then you've got these people they've gone through a little bit of hardship, and they get the violin out and they spend years trying to make money from their sob story. And it's just bullshit. I'm sick of it. And one of the reasons why I did the show in the first place was because I'm tired of seeing all this nonsense out there by people who generally just don't give a shit, right? And they're milking what they may have or what they went through. It's nonsense. It angers me. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to create a show that actually asks questions, that provokes real thinking and real insights, and hopefully in a nice way can inspire, not make people want to, feel that they have to play the victim over and over again to get what they want.
Yeah.
This whole fake nonsense. Oh yeah, let's share stuff. Let's get more views. Let's get more likes. Let's get more sob stories. Oh, you're amazing. What you've been through. What have you been through? You've been through a little bit of something. There are people with much worse stories who don't share it, right? They're the real inspiration, not the people who go on and laud themselves about how amazing they are. You know what I mean?
Received. I appreciate that.
You cried.
Yeah.
Why? What was it that I said that must have triggered something?
From a man to a man, I just appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
I appreciate you pouring into me. I appreciate you reflecting evidence. I think it's reflecting on how far I've come, because I wasn't always this version of Nick. And I think a lot of times I would deflect compliments.
Yeah.
And I would, spin off.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm just receiving you.
Beautiful.
I
man.
really appreciate
Hold
it.
Well, look, it looks like you're 29, right? You're still growing as a man. As a person, you're going to develop. I didn't know anything as a 28-year-old. I look now in my 30s. I got married and had kids in my late 30s. Fine, I knew a little bit more. Now in my 40s, I know even more because I've gone through life. You're going to evolve, you're going to develop, and you're going to be able to see even quicker what's real and what isn't, right? Who are victims and who deserve to be victims, but they decide to choose a different path, and you're going to appreciate them so much more. So I have mad respect for you, man. Mad respect.
Appreciate that.
Really.
I think also too, sometimes I forget what I built myself into. Sometimes I'm still 13-year-old Nick. Sometimes I still feel inadequate. Sometimes I still don't feel enough. Sometimes I still don't feel worthy. And I've done so much work, but I haven't looked up. And there's moments of stillness where something hits me, and your words mean a lot to me.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You know, when I spoke with Rose in your team, she said to me, "You're going to get on so well with Nick. I can't wait to watch the episode." So I was asking her, "What's Nick like?" Because I can see Nick on stage, I can see Nick on videos, on socials, all that kind of stuff. But it's the people that work with you.
What did she say?
It's the people, it's the people that know you inside out. They see you in your good days, your bad days. Because we all have them, man. We all have them. I had a bad morning this morning. Truth be told, I'm feeling much better now.
Great.
But she was extremely complimentary. But it was about your energy, about how you made her feel, how you make the field team. It's infectious, and that's more insightful to me than someone with a perfect, nice presentation on a stage, because you can fake that. You can't fake every single day with the people around you. And if the person on stage matches what the people are saying who know you best or have worked with you and seen you in those moments, and they match, for me, authenticity. That's when you can say authentic.
Appreciate that. I think early on I wasn't that man. I was one person on stage, and I was like a terrible person off stage. Like even now, still to this day, when people are like, ask to rap me, like, how was Nick early on? I'm like, I'm so sorry, bro. Like triggers and negative and toxic and terrible patterns, and don't know how to manage my emotional state, and making people upset and snapping at them, making them cry. Like I was not good.
Yeah.
And I believe that it was the contrast that helped me, but also when I finally became conscious of how much I was hurting people around me. I love people. I always thought I hated people, you know, because people made fun of me. So I was like, I hate people. And then I realized that I love people, and especially love my people. And so
they're your fuel. They're your fuel.
Yeah.
People are your fuel.
And I want to be the best version for them. Yeah, it means a lot.
Very cool. Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
You're getting good at this.
In AI era, audiences value presenters, not presentations. Is this the new currency for learning?
So right now, how we learn is we're using ChatGPT or any other form of AI agent for questions. We get information. Okay, you don't even have to use Google anymore. You just ask your AI. You ask your personal virtual personal assistant. The way we learn now, the way I'm learning is through conversation. I learn from people. I learn from, someone on a stage and who impresses me. So I don't care so much about the content.
Yes.
And I kind of mentioned that a bit earlier. It's always about the presenter, never the presentation. Are we, with this era of AI now, are we entering into a brand new era for how people will learn, receive information, right? And it's going to put the onus on the presenters to become the new teachers. Make sense?
Yeah, brilliant. I think it's spot on because, for example, when students come in and are like, well, my industry's saturated. I'm like, bro, people don't buy for your information. They buy for the vessel. They buy for the facilitator, the teacher. They want to connect with you on a deeper level, right? And when it comes to like teaching, there's 4 levels of teaching, not to go too nerdy, but right? You have strategies, you have tactics, you have principles, and then you have essence. Essence is your vulnerability. Essence is me crying. Essence is what I'm really going through and how I transmuted it, like the gold, like the stuff that you can't get from the robot. And so I believe that it's more about the presenter than the presentation. You can get that information anywhere. But has someone ever told you something and it didn't make sense, and then someone else said it, and then you're like, that makes so much sense, right? Has it ever happened?
Yeah, because you get it more, how they deliver it, how they connect you, how they relate to you.
It was a different vessel, right? And so that's what I believe is, the X factor will be the vessel of there's strategies all around us.
Look, as a kid, when you go back, remember, everyone now who's watching or listening, they can remember maybe their favorite teacher, right, at school, because the way in which they taught the information really resonated with them. It wasn't the material. You don't know back then what you're really super passionate about, like physics or history or whatever the case may be. Or there's other
the vibe.
Yeah, it's always the vessel, you call it, the presenter. And I think more and more they're going to become the people who are sharing the information and the knowledge, and not relying as much on just the good old fashioned, let me ask my ChatGPT what the answer is. You know what I mean? So it's that combination of both. You're going to get the information there, but you're going to get the feeling, the life experience, and the real learning from humans, not through AI.
100%. Yeah, and like I said, I think it's great for us. I think more people are going to want to go to events, and they want in-person stuff, and they want to feel it. So I think it's going to destroy a lot of people. Yeah, they're going to have a crossroad. It's either like I be who I say I'm going to be, or I'm going to get destroyed by robots. Which one is it going to be?
No, I think AI is going to fall. I had a very smart guy on where you're sitting. His name was John Sanet. He's a futurist, AI futurist. He basically said AI is going to force us to become more human.
Love it.
That's it.
Is the smart still here?
Mate, it's just rub it. I do it every night.
He's in the chair.
By the way, that bit's going to get clipped. It's like he's rubbing. What's he rubbing?
I do it every day. Burnout memes.
All right, let's see. How many have we got left? I think we've got one left, my friend.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah?
Yep. The bigger the stereotype you break, the bigger opportunity to be more memorable. Debate.
So, you have no arms. Well, you have one arm and you have no legs. It's a huge stereotype. And you're going up on stage. That stereotype of the person, what you can and what you can't do, by you going up and doing what you do, it's a huge thing that you're breaking, and it adds huge amounts of memorability. So is the bigger the obvious stereotype or disability that someone may have, people of determination, does that lead to you having more opportunity to be more memorable? Let's say, for example, you lost one leg, right? You were in one of those wars, okay? But you had everything else was functioning physically. Would you be able to make as big an impact? Same speaker, same type of approach. Would people see you differently, or you'd have more of an impact on someone had you had less or more physical disability?
That's a great question. I think the level of transformation could be the same. I mean, because when I can look at Tony. Tony's like a great example. He's 6'7", he's a billionaire, and it's like, who the hell are you? You know, but he's still, with the right tools and modalities, breaks people through and has them, like, life is changed forever. But I also do believe that the body needs to match the skill set too. So it's like, people think I get paid so much money to go on stage because I have no legs, one arm. It's like, yo, they don't pay homies like this $75,000 for an hour because I look like this. I wish that it would have been easier when I was 21 years old. No one was giving me that type of money. It was because of my level of skill set. So I believe that the skill set also has to match, and it has to be in depth. But I also believe that
You're a unicorn.
I'm an X factor.
You're a unicorn.
They gave me one of the worst, you could say, worst case scenarios, or like took everything from me, but also my skill set is disgusting, right? So with that pair, no one can compete.
Yeah.
But also, we don't need to compete. Like, Tony can't compete with me. I can't compete with Tony.
There's enough space for everybody.
Yeah, there's space for everybody. But I do believe.
Yeah, but having a stereotype or having something, right? An angle, not an angle, but something that's like an obvious flaw that someone might have. If you break that, it's like, it creates that memorability factor, big time.
I think I have some advantages because of the body, but like I said, I believe it's because of the skill set too.
But you're a unicorn. You have it all. That's why at 29 years old, you're sitting in my chair. Yeah, that's why you've toured. You've sold out arenas. You've worked with some of the best public speakers in the world. Why you're getting paid the way because of your ability.
Of course.
But there are also other great communicators out there.
Yeah.
So the challenge then, I mean, I always ask myself the question. I was a CEO. I was managing a big company, hundreds of people. When I speak to people, I know that they're knowing, oh, this guy he's a smart dude. He had a company. I know that's a stereotype, if you like, where I think Luca's credible as a host. I will come on his show, even though I was still growing at the time on YouTube, for example. Okay. But they looked at my past and said, he's credible. If I'm good at public speaking and if I'm a good host, tick, 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 it adds to a bigger effect. That's why things are going very, very well. Alhamdulillah, touch wood. With you have an amazing story, going back to storytelling. And you're a brilliant communicator. So you put those two together, fireworks, right?
Yeah.
But if you just were a brilliant communicator, would you still have the same impact on people? That's a very difficult question to answer. You will never know. But I always think about certain things. Like if everyone's given the same hand, you've got to stand out much harder. But if you've got an opportunity to stand out because of something, then
leverage it.
Then leverage the hell out of it. And you're doing it. And it's amazing.
For sure.
Yeah?
That's a good point. I think the universal prayer that I do is thank you. And so there's times in my shower I'm like, thank you for having no legs, one arm. Thank you for being the vessel. Thank you that I get the opportunity to see, hear, and experience and all the different things. But I hated the vessel for a very long time. And now I'm so grateful for the vessel. And people ask me the question, like, if you could wake up tomorrow with all your arms and all your legs, I'm like, no, I think my career would fall apart, or maybe people wouldn't like me. I don't know. But I'm finally at the point where I like it. I love who I am. And if this is my last incarnation, Yallah, let's burn it down.
It's a good one.
It is a good one.
I normally end the show where I give you a blank ball. I'm not going to do that because it's a metaphor. The blank ball is to represent what is that one insight, right? Throughout your life, throughout your career, the adversity. We haven't talked about your brother, but losing your brother through addiction, everything that you've had to overcome physically, and then being on stage, communicating to so many others, impacting so many others. Like, what is that one insight that's true to Nick? Okay, that's unique to you, that kind of overrides everything that you've been through and experienced in your life that you'd like to share?
The path is the way. And what I mean by that is, like, do the hard thing. Do the thing that scares you. Do the thing that you don't want to do. Do the thing that keeps you up at night. Do the thing that makes your heart start beating out of your chest and you're super fearful of it. I think the fastest way to unwire and rewire your brain is to attack what you fear the most, the thing you've been putting off. And so for me, I play a game with myself. Anytime that I'm afraid to do something, I'm like, now I got to do it. It's like, oh, that's my game that I play with myself. But I believe, listen, I could have took the easy way. I could have collected disability. I could have collected from the government. I could have got hooked on drugs and all these different things. No one would have cared. They would like, of course, look at him.
Yeah.
And so I do the hard thing. And I believe because I do the hard thing, it molds me into this man.
And society would have allowed you to do it. Like,
course.
he's got an excuse.
It
It's
would have
okay.
applauded.
He's allowed to do it.
Yeah, of course. So be it. Yeah, drink.
As
smoke.
we say in the Middle East, haram. They would say haram. You heard that phrase.
Yeah. So that's what I believe is do the hard thing. I know it's and for me, I'm like, my brain even now is like, give a more complex answer. I'm like, no, do the hard thing.
Think, Nick, think.
But do the hard thing, right? Whatever that thing is, do that. And I believe
Gets out your comfort zone.
when you
yourself.
come against yourself and do it anyway, that's when you show yourself who you really are.
Love it. Nick, I love who you really are, mate. I've had a great conversation. One of my
Likewise.
favorite episodes that I've recorded after 75 odd episodes that I've done.
Thank you.
You're a great guy, mate. You're a great guy. I would call you a friend in the future, I hope, inshallah.
Yes.
Because I like you. And I don't always like all my guests. So that's a little sneak peek from me.
Touche. I like it. Well,
So-
I appreciate it. And I just want to acknowledge you again for your attention to detail, your intention, and the questions that you ask me. You know, a lot of times I come on interviews and like, so tell your story.
Yeah.
And for you, the intention and the detail and all of the love that you put into it, it shows. And what a gift and what a blessing you are. And thanks for bringing this work to the world and letting me into your home and all the amazing things. It's been an honor.
Thank you. And on that note, wish you all the best, buddy.
Sending love. See you soon.
Guys, if you have liked this episode and listened to this episode intently, please drop a like, a share, and a comment. Do what you do best. I'll see you very, very soon on Luca's Insight Track.